Welcome to this episode. Today, we're diving into a major new proposal from the Department of Veterans Affairs. For the first time in nearly 30 years, the VA is considering a sweeping overhaul of its healthcare system, one that could fundamentally change how millions of veterans access care nationwide. Chloe, this is a significant moment, isn't it?
It really is, Liam. The VA runs one of the largest integrated health systems in the country, with a complex regional setup that's been around for decades. This proposal aims to reshape that structure, potentially modernizing care, but also risking some of the system's old challenges. It's a pivotal crossroads.
So the proposal centers on two big changes. First, the VA wants to consolidate its current 18 Veterans Integrated Service Networks, VISNs, down to just 5 super regions. These VISNs now act as semi-autonomous regional systems, managing local VA medical centers and clinics. The plan would shift decision-making away from local facilities and closer to VA headquarters.
That's a major shift. VISNs have traditionally allowed for regional flexibility and local advocacy tailored to veterans' unique needs. The VA argues that consolidating into 5 large regions will cut bureaucracy, standardize care, and boost efficiency and accountability. But critics worry this could slow response times, erase important regional differences, and reduce local oversight.
Right. And the second big change is leadership restructuring. The plan calls for eliminating a senior executive role that currently oversees Veterans Health Administration. This role was meant to centralize authority and streamline decisions. Removing it would concentrate power even more at VA headquarters.
That raises serious questions about accountability. VA leadership says this will reduce bureaucracy and improve oversight, but veteran advocates worry it will blur lines of responsibility and make it harder to escalate urgent regional issues. Without that senior executive, who's ultimately responsible when care falls short?
That's a key concern. The report also breaks down how these changes might affect veterans from 4 major service eras, each with very different healthcare needs. Let's start with World War II veterans. They're mostly in their late 90s or older, with primary needs focused on geriatric care, long-term care, mobility support, and end-of-life services.
For this group, centralization could delay approvals for home-based and community care, which is especially problematic given their advanced age. Many World War II veterans live in rural areas where access to VA facilities is already limited. If regional advocacy weakens, these veterans could face even greater barriers. Time is critical here. Any administrative delay can have serious consequences.
It's a classic case where a system optimized for efficiency might overlook urgency and personalized care. Moving on to Vietnam veterans. Their main needs include care for Agent Orange-related conditions, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and PTSD. They rely heavily on established relationships with VA specialists familiar with complex toxic exposure claims.
Consolidating VISNs could reduce flexibility in handling these complex service-connected conditions. Appeals and claims processing might slow if decision-making becomes more centralized and standardized. The risk is that a one-size-fits-all policy could undermine decades of progress recognizing Vietnam-era exposures.
Then there are Desert Storm veterans who face Gulf War illness, autoimmune conditions, neurological disorders, and other unexplained chronic symptoms. This group already struggles with skepticism and under-recognition of their service-related illnesses.
A consolidated system might deprioritize conditions that don't fit neatly into standardized diagnostic models. Reduced regional autonomy could weaken specialized clinics that currently lead Gulf War research and treatment. The risk is that marginalized conditions get sidelined further, worsening health outcomes.
Finally, War on Terror veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. Their needs include traumatic brain injury, PTSD, suicide prevention, prosthetics, and reintegration services. Many are younger and require rapid access to mental health and crisis intervention.
Larger regions could mean longer wait times for specialized behavioral health services. Centralized leadership might struggle to adapt quickly to emerging needs like moral injury and polytrauma care. Delays in mental health care can be life-threatening, so timely access is absolutely critical.
Looking at all these groups, it really highlights the tension between efficiency and access. The VA has a history of reform cycles, often triggered by scandals around wait times or mismanagement. While consolidation promises cost savings and uniformity, history shows that increasing distance between leadership and patients often leads to poorer outcomes.
Veterans. Healthcare isn't one size fits all. It's shaped by era of service, type of warfare, environmental exposures, age, and geography. Reducing regional voices risks silencing the very advocates who understand these distinctions best. I think of the current VISNs as a network of local experts who know their communities intimately, versus a distant headquarters making broad decisions that may miss local realities.
That analogy really hits home. And circling back to accountability, eliminating that senior executive role raises serious oversight questions. Who will be responsible when care fails? How will veterans escalate urgent regional issues? Will Congress and watchdogs have clearer or murkier lines of accountability?
Without strong safeguards, consolidation could blur responsibility instead of clarifying it. That could lead to slower responses and less transparency, which is the last thing veterans need.
So what happens next? The proposal is still under review, and veteran input will be critical in shaping whether and how this overhaul moves forward. The report ends with a call to action for veterans, families, caregivers, and VA employees to share their experiences and concerns.
That's crucial. Reform shouldn't happen to veterans. It must happen with them. Their voices need to be front and center to ensure changes truly meet their needs.
To sum up, this overhaul could be a turning point that modernizes and streamlines veteran care, but it also carries significant risks, especially around regional autonomy, accountability, and the unique needs of different veteran groups.
Exactly. It's a complex balance between efficiency and personalized care, and the stakes couldn't be higher. We'll be watching this closely and encourage listeners with expertise or experience to engage and share their perspectives.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this conversation sheds light on what's at stake and why it matters so much.
Until next time.